Welcome to Law You Should Know. The law affects every aspect of our lives, our home, our jobs, and our recreational activities. Now you can learn about the law and how to protect yourself against the loss of your liberty or property. Learn how to stand up for your rights and seek compensation when you have been wronged. Your host for Law You Should Know is attorney Kenneth J. Landau with the Mineola law firm of Shane, Dox, Denisi, and Corker. He's a member of the Committee on Professional Ethics of the Bar Association of Nassau County and counsel to the Nassau Academy of Law. And now, here is your host for Law You Should Know, attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome to the 30th anniversary show of Law You Should Know. Yes, we've been doing shows for 30 years about new and interesting topics of the law each week. And today, to celebrate our anniversary, we have a very special guest, attorney Bill Horan. He himself hosts The Secrets of Success right here on WHPC 90.3 on every Monday at 3 p.m. and Sunday at 6:30 a.m., and also available as a podcast. Bill, welcome to Law You Should Know.
Ken, thank you for having me, and congratulations. It's an accomplishment to be on a radio show and a host for 30 years. That's amazing.
The goal of this show is to help educate the public about how to choose and use lawyers, and also lawyers to understand the client's perspective. So if you were a client and you need to choose a lawyer, and maybe you would now, you're semi-retired, how would you go about finding a lawyer?
I think the first way I would do it, I would ask people. Now, I'm more the old school. I know today people would get on the computer and Google it. But I would ask someone, did you have a similar case, whatever that might be? So let's start off and let's say it's an estate. Who handles an estate? Is it the local guy in town, the attorney that's across the street? Does she handle it? Is it a general practitioner, or is there a specialized field called either estate law, wills and trusts, etc.?
And maybe on your own or after consulting a lawyer, you have to decide how big is your problem. Do you just need a simple will? Do you need a possible amendment or updating of your will? Or do you need an elaborate trust?
Exactly.
Or some special provisions, or an elder law situation. So you might need someone with a greater expertise to do that.
And that's, of course, a different aspect of law, elder law today, a very big one, because those people are alive. You're looking about their nursing home, how to move their assets around, etc. And then, presumably, like most of us, it will move into an estate issue because everyone is going to pass.
And that can be a very complex and quickly changing field of law. So you want someone who has experience in that area of the law. You also want someone you can reach, and they will keep in touch with you. And you also have to consider price.
Ken, that's interesting you say that. And, of course, you know it's one of the biggest problems in law. Lawyers are busy. They're running out to court. They're going back and forth. Sometimes a client comes in at the last minute. I got someone panicking. I think it was New Year's Eve one year. And I had to call around. I didn't think I would get anyone in. I was able to get them and help them with their situation. But people today like to communicate differently. And that's a great point because, as you kind of alluded to, some people just want to communicate by email. It's convenient for them. They can get an email at 3 a.m. or 6 a.m. or whenever. Others would prefer the back and forth as we're doing, one-on-one or on the telephone, or actually if they're in the neighborhood or if they have an office in the building, just to come in and talk to the lawyer. So that's another aspect of finding someone you like. Do they communicate the way you want to communicate? And
if you should call them, can you actually reach that lawyer, or do you have to go through a voicemail maze? How are you greeted on the phone? Does the person at the other end seem knowledgeable and concerned about you and your legal matter?
Again, a great point, because lawyers are busy. Often if they're with a client or in court, you will get a phone message. If that's not what you want, it might be a different type of lawyer, maybe a larger firm or a smaller firm that can personalize their treatment of you.
So I agree it's good to check with someone who had a similar legal matter and had a satisfactory experience with a lawyer. If you want to, you may want to check online to see if there are any negative reviews and what the reasons are for those negative reviews. But I'm not sure it's a good idea to go entirely based on an online review.
I agree with you, because if someone's dissatisfied, I mean, we can all irritate someone. We took their parking space. So that makes you a bad person. If anybody can get someone that didn't respond the way they want, and the client might be having a bad day, and just say, oh, I'm going to file a bad review on you. But as we know, one or two, everybody's going to have something like that. So I wouldn't mark someone with the bad mark just because they have a review that way.
And you can also see, and this is true for real estate or almost any legal area, if they'll give you a short, perhaps free consultation over the phone. So you can begin to decide if that's the right lawyer for you. They can handle the type of matter you need and whether that inspires confidence. And then you could take the next step in trying to arrange a consultation. Sometimes a consultation's enough to give you guidance about your legal matter. And some offices will give you a short free consultation, or they will give you a reduced fee initial consultation.
That's actually a good way for both sides, because let's say someone calls up and I think it's a real estate matter and turns out it's an estate matter. If it's not something I want to handle, it's honestly wasting a bit of my time and the client's time. So it may be good to spend a few minutes on the phone. And I think most attorneys in smaller offices, and that's what we have here on Long Island, anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7 person offices, most times they'll be willing to do that because it's a win-win for both sides.
And sometimes they'll give you a package price or some type of flat fee. That might be the case with a will or a real estate matter. Sometimes you're concerned about your inability to pay large fees. So perhaps you can work out some kind of top, a limit to what the fees will be.
I think it's good to ask about that, because if it's out of your range or something that you would just never think of, or realize that even a simple legal matter can take 10 hours. By the time you put time in, investigate it, you may have to get certain reports. You may have to pay for an outside source to do that, which is actually cheaper than having the lawyer go to certain offices and spend time looking through records. So it is good to ask the person, the attorney, can you give me an idea what this is going to cost? Is it $500, $5,000, or $50,000?
And there are different types of fee arrangements, and you have to check with different lawyers to see how flexible they are. If you have an employment discrimination case, there may be some lawyers who charge you a small free fee up front, and then it's a percentage of what they recover. If the lawyer wants to just go by fees up front, it may get quite expensive, and perhaps they don't have confidence in their ability to succeed with your legal matter. So you could be putting good money and just throwing money away when unfortunately you don't have a meritorious claim.
Although I think most lawyers try to give you a good analysis up front, because they don't want an unhappy client. They don't want someone who is arguing with them over it. It wastes their time and their client's time.
And perhaps you have some kind of collection matter, and it'll take a small upfront fee plus percentage of what you recover. Or maybe the person's a deadbeat and they have no assets and it's not worth pursuing.
Well, and the lawyers usually know from the beginning how much time that's going to take. And again, if you have something like that, a collection matter, I would look for a firm that advertises or states that that's what they do, collections, because that's not something that the average attorney will get into too heavily. And if a firm does it routinely, and let's say you have a business or you're running something where you might have 10 or 12 of these a month, it's going to be a win-win for both of you.
And they can probably handle it in a cost-effective manner. The same is true for workers' comp firms. They may do that every day, be in court for other matters, so they can charge you a reasonable fee for every court appearance, and they're well-versed in the court procedures. That's
the main thing there. If they're doing it every day, in those cases they have to do a volume because there's so many of them, that's the way the attorney can make a living and the client can save money. And what I think is even more important from the client's point of view, that attorney, if he's doing 20 of those a day or she's doing 15 of them a day, they know the law inside out usually, and that's what their firm specializes in.
So I believe it's generally a good idea to interview perhaps one or more lawyers, see if they can be of help to you and if it's cost effective for you to hire them. If you have traffic tickets, maybe if you have a clean license, you want to take a chance and negotiate your best deal at the traffic court. And you probably can always, if it gets too complicated or you're too nervous, then you can think about retaining a lawyer.
You know, if I can interrupt, Ken, you just hit on something very important. For some people, they're very competent in their field. They're an excellent principal or musician, but to get into court and talk, they're very nervous. And that's not their specialty. That's why a lawyer may come into play. Certain things, like you say, a traffic ticket, you can go into court and talk about it. But for some people, they would rather be back at the school, at the conservatory, playing their music, doing their work. That's what they do best, and have an outside person, and namely an attorney, who's in court every day, argue about the ticket, either get a good outcome or the best they can get for them. And, you know, part of it is knowing your own personality as a client.
And also finding out from the attorney what is the range of possible results they can achieve for you. If you have a couple of tickets, potentially a very big fine and other surcharges, you're in danger of losing your license or getting too many points or losing it, adversely affecting your job, then it's probably worthwhile to hire an attorney to handle it for you.
Exactly. I think the old saying is penny wise and pound foolish. If you're talking about the chance of losing your license, what would that mean to you? Someone has to pick you up for work, take a bus, take a train, find other means of transportation, a cab or an Uber.
And it could jeopardize your ability to drive your kids and may have other serious consequences. Also, if you have something like a DWI, there can be very serious ramifications if it's not handled properly. So you may want someone to advise you about the best possible defense.
And speaking of that, Ken, I think anytime you talk to an attorney, if you're talking about an area of law, let's just say something that is relatively common, a real estate closing. Do you do these to the attorney? How many of them have you done? Do you specialize in commercial real estate or residential real estate? Because you can handle real estate and never do a closing. You could be a compliance attorney and be dealing with that. So you can have, there's very many different branches on the tree, even though it may say real estate or it may say negligence or matrimonial law. You want to find out if the attorney you're talking to really handles what you are going to need, like a good doctor.
And there may be various nuances. If it's a real estate matter, but it involves a zoning issue or a fence or border boundary issue or environmental issues, you may need an attorney who's especially experienced in those exact matters.
Or even going further, a litigator, much like a surgeon, someone who specializes in going into court. If this is something that's hard fought, or already you know that there's battles going back and forth about it, or there's a lot of money involved, it may result in something that has to go to court. That's when you want the person who's a litigator. That's their specialty.
At times, there are legal aid agencies or law school clinics, and sometimes free help available at the courthouse to pro bono litigants. And you can always take advantage of those services. Maybe they can help you represent yourself or provide free representation to you. We're going to talk about what you should do if you are sued and who might be out there to provide free legal help in a moment. But we're going to take a short break. We're talking with Bill Horan about choosing or using a lawyer. You're listening to WHPC on 90.3 FM and also over the internet at nccradio.org. We'll be back in a moment.
This portion of programming on WHPC is brought to you on behalf of the Nassau County Bar Association, helping both the public and lawyers since 1899. They are the largest suburban bar association in the country. The Nassau County Bar Association offers clinics where you can meet privately with an attorney to prevent or solve legal problems involving Hurricane Sandy, foreclosure, wills, or elder law. Speakers on almost any legal topic are also available to schools or community groups. They can also help lawyers advance their legal careers and offer a place to network. Learn more about the Nassau County Bar Association by calling 516-747-4070 or visit nassaubar.org.
Once again, we continue with Law You Should Know. From the Mineola Law Firm of Shane, Dox, Denise, Corker, and Sauer, here is attorney Kenneth J. Landau.
Hi, this is Ken Landau, and welcome back to Law You Should Know. As I mentioned earlier, this is the 30th anniversary of Law You Should Know. Over the last 30 years, we've taped programs and interviewed hundreds of experts about different fields of law, and I'm delighted to have one of them with me tonight, Bill Horan, who also is the host of a very interesting show, Secrets of Success, right on this station every Monday at 3 p.m. and Sunday at 6:30 p.m.
A.M.
A.M., I'm sorry. And as many podcasts are available at nccradio.org, as are many past programs of Law You Should Know. At nccradio.org, the podcasts are available for free. Now, on the other hand, someone may be sued. If it's a collection notice or some kind of collection matter, should the person try to go to court and strike out their best deal, Bill? Or
I think you're talking about, you have to ask yourself how much is involved. If you're being sued by the local auto shop for $500, that's 1 hour of a lawyer's time or an hour and a half, and just getting to the court and waiting for it to be called would probably take up that much. If it's something that, you're doing it on principle and you say, okay, I don't care, I want you to come with me to court, but something like that, relatively minor, a lot of people could go on their own. If they then feel they're overmatched, they could say to the judge, I'd like to have an attorney. Could I please adjourn this and come back with my attorney?
And most judges will give you the opportunity to do that. There also may be some pro bono help for litigants. If you're sued in small claims, most people don't have lawyers there. And if someone owes you money or perhaps for a service, you can always sue them in small claims court, and you can generally do it without a lawyer. If you think it's worth enough to be concerned, you can always try to have a consultation, a short consultation with a lawyer, whether you want to bring a suit in small claims court or defending a suit in small claims court.
That's a great point, yeah.
Sometimes you have free legal services available. If a car is suing you for injuries or property damage, your insurance company, you should timely advise your insurance company of the accident, but also once you get the suit papers, advise them again, and they should be providing a free attorney for you under the terms of your insurance policy. The same is true if someone falls on your premises, falls in your home, try to let them know about the accident, but even if you don't, if you get a letter from a lawyer, a lawsuit letter, if you get legal papers served on you, contact your insurance company, and hopefully they'll pay for an attorney to defend you in that lawsuit.
And I would ask them that first, even if you're in doubt, make sure because if you are covered, obviously, that's what you're paying for insurance for. And Ken, just a little tip that and I think our listeners may fall into this. Don't go to a birthday party or an anniversary, and if there's a lawyer there, say, can I ask you one question? And half an hour later, you're giving them 22 parts to your injury, the medical malpractice, how the car turned into you. That's not the time for a 22-part question. If you want to ask them, do you handle negligence law, and can I come to your office someday, that would be appropriate. But to kind of get an attorney in a corner at an event, a social event, is really improper.
But you can ask them for their card and then call them at their office and arrange some kind of consultation. Maybe they'll give you a break because of your friends or family. Another area is foreclosure. There are programs through the local bar associations to help people facing foreclosure or problems with Hurricane Sandy. You should contact your local bar association. They may give you a brief free consultation with a lawyer. They will tell you how to protect your rights. There may be help available at the courthouse through other legal aid services. But don't wait till it's too late. Call a lawyer as soon as you think you have a legal problem.
And the Bar Association is a great resource. That's what they're there for. And even if it means going over some morning, spending half an hour there, or you can do it by a phone call. And again, if they put you in touch with someone, it's probably someone who's done this a few times. And at least, we don't call it per se a specialist, but at least they have knowledge of the field. They know what's going on. It saves you going through the learning curve.
They're willing and hopefully able to take on those cases. Most bar associations have referral services, and many times the attorney will give you the first consultation at a very low discount price. If you're involved in a matrimonial problem, do you have any suggestions for a consumer selecting an attorney there?
Well, again, on my show, the big word today is culture and alignment. And what that means is people often want someone who views the world the way they do. Some people may go in and say, look, this is not an acrimonious, we just found we can't live together and we want to work things out. And both sides will work it out. And you don't want the attorney who says, I'll take him to court or I'll take her to court and get everything and all your children and all that. No, we just want to work it out. Who gets the dog, the ashtray, and the bicycle? How do they view the proceedings? What's their view on them, and does it match yours? Maybe you do want a hard-fought one because you're very hurt, and you want to go through the whole court proceeding, and you want every last penny you're entitled to, even if it costs you a pretty penny yourself. And then you want a certain attorney. Maybe you want to go to mediation where something is worked out. You don't have the hard feeling of having to say negative things about each other in court. And really it comes down to possessions.
You may want to do your venting to a mental health professional. Sometimes they're part of the process. There are lawyers who act as divorce mediators and try to fashion an agreement. But you should always have a consultation with someone to see what you may be entitled to under the law. But if you can agree on some kind of settlement, perhaps with the help of a mediator, you're going to save lots of expensive and uncertain litigation.
And one thing people forget, the mediator knows how to write things down. You might say, we work this out. I get the house in Levittown. My husband gets the house upstate. But does that mean all of the time? Can you go back and forth to each other, etc.? The lawyer who handles it, the mediator, has a contract that he'll have written up or she'll have written up, and it'll define all of the things that could come up and try to catch most of them so that you don't have future problems or future litigation.
And some lawyers are involved in collaborative law, and even if they're not, they may act in a collaborative fashion where they try to negotiate with the other side's lawyer and try to reach a solution that you can both win with, and to be much happier with a solution you both agree on rather than one that's imposed by the court. Because then there's going to be a winner and a loser, or no one may be happy, and you're also going to spend tens of thousands of dollars in the process.
And unfortunately, I mean, the legal profession, you have very smart people who spend a lot of years learning their trade, and it can get very expensive, as you said. And if they can work out something or go through a mediation, it can be on a friendlier basis, even though there might be a little acrimony, and you, the consumer, can save a lot of money.
But it's important to perhaps see one or more than one lawyers. Make sure you're comfortable with them, because you can rely on them for very important emotional support and legal advice, and see what style and methods they try to use, hopefully cost-effective ones, to resolve your problem. Bill, what if someone has a business matter? What advice would you have for them there?
That can be a totally different attorney. In most cases, I would say, if you're talking about buying a business in town, the local attorney can help you with that and set that up. Sometime you may even want to discuss with an attorney who you should see. It sounds funny, an attorney recommending another attorney, but just as doctors do that. So your attorney in town might say, wait a minute, so you're talking about buying a building in Manhattan and setting it up to make a factory on the outer parts of Manhattan. Okay, you have a lot of different issues, permits that you might have to get, etc. I'm going to recommend a commercial building attorney. And to know what you have to check, what laws might come into place. Are there any new things in the neighborhood changing so that you might get all the permits and then find out that the law is going to be changed in 6 months?
And if it represents a large enough sum of money or a substantial matter, you may want to have an attorney either draw up a lease or review a lease you're about to sign, just to make you fully inform you about the ramifications of what you're signing, and perhaps they can negotiate, to fine-tune it for your needs.
Oh, absolutely.
Which may not be reflected in the form agreement, and if it's not in writing and part of the agreement, it doesn't really matter what was told to you.
And even if you come across with the old he was so nice, she was so nice, meaning the other side, or we have a handshake agreement, it's good today, but 2 years from now, people forget that, or when money gets involved, we forget what we promised.
And even if you're lending money to a family member or friend, if it's substantial enough and you really want to have it paid back to you, an attorney might be able to draft some documents to help increase the chances of that happening.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, I would say to someone, if you're doing a family loan, get the attorney involved. You might say, why? That's just an extra expense. No, because almost assuredly, 80% of the time, you're going to have an argument, or the other person isn't going to want to pay you back on the same schedule you're thinking of. And if you don't have it in writing, it's going to be much more difficult, and you're going to pay far, far, far more, multiple times what you would have paid for the simple agreement.
And we only have a moment or two left on the show, but I just want to emphasize that using a lawyer doesn't usually cost money. It pays money and saves money
it really
for
does,
you.
Yeah, I know
so
that's
a little
hard for
money
people
spent
to understand.
on an attorney will save aggravation and perhaps giant financial obligations down the road.
And also you can see, Ken, sometime in the negotiations, if the other person starts hesitating, you know they have no intention of paying you back, or they were trying to do this and we don't need a lawyer, we'll just draw it up. Those are dangerous words, and although we all like to think that our brother-in-law or neighbor is a good person, they're going to pay us back, when times get tough, they forget who we are.
And even on a home improvement contract, you're spending so much money, it's good to have a lawyer look at the proposal and draft some language that's going to protect you as the consumer.
Those things cost $20,000 to $150,000, $200,000. Yeah, I would have a lawyer.
So
look
it's
at it.
Worth a few dollars to spend on a consultation or two with a lawyer.
It definitely is. It sounds funny. You're spending $200,000 to have the construction. You don't want to hire a lawyer for 1 hour to look at the contract, right?
And exactly, because that's why it means it pays to use a lawyer's services.
Yes.
You'll save yourself, chances are you'll save yourself aggravation in the long run, and also to draft a will or take care of a trust agreement, because you'll have peace of mind and save yourself aggravation and legal uncertainty and perhaps a greater expense down the road. So in general, you can ask a lawyer for consultation. If you have a business, you can probably arrange perhaps a free consultation and audit of your business to see if you need any additional legal agreements. Our time is over now, but I'd like to thank Bill Horan for being my guest and helping us with the discussion.
Thanks.
Please tune in every week at this time for more programs on Law You Should Know, and visit and listen, and also over the air at nccradio.org. And please look at podcasts there of many past shows of Law You Should Know, as well as Secrets for Success. And please join us again next week on Law You Should Know on 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College.